The thunder cracked like a gunshot outside my Brooklyn apartment window, but it was nothing compared to the storm raging inside me as Jackson collapsed onto my couch, his laughter slurring into the kind of reckless abandon that only cheap whiskey could summon. We've been best friends since we were kids, kicking dirt in that forgotten Queens playground. Him the golden boy with the easy grin. Me the quiet one sketching dreams in the margins of our shared notebooks. But tonight, with the rain sealing us in like fugitives from our own histories, I knew one wrong word could shatter everything. His hand brushed mine as he passed the bottle, and in that electric graze, the secret I'd buried for 15 years clawed its way to the surface, demanding to be free. We'd reconnected just months ago, after years of drift, him building a life in the trades upstate, me scraping by in the city's creative grind, both of us nursing wounds from lives that never quite fit. Jackson had shown up unannounced that afternoon, duffel bag slung over his shoulder, claiming a work gig in the city had gone south, and he needed a place to crash. Just one night. Man, he'd said with that boyish smirk, the one that still made my chest ache like it did back in high school when I'd watch him score touchdowns under Friday night lights, pretending my cheers were just for the team. I nodded too quickly, heart hammering, because saying no to Jackson had never been an option. Not then. Not now. The whiskey burned going down, loosening tongues and memories we'd long ignored. We sprawled on the worn leather couch I'd salvaged from a stoop sale, the room lit only by the flicker of an old baseball game on my muted TV, some Mets rerun, fitting for two guys who'd once dreamed of stadium glory before life rerouted us. Jackson stretched out, his long legs kicking off his boots with a thud that echoed my pulse, his flannel riding up to reveal the taut line of his abdomen, tanned from endless construction sites. Remember that time in 10th grade? He started, voice gravelly from a booze, eyes glassy but sharp. When we snuck out to the pier, swore we'd conquer the world, you with your sketch pad, me with my dumb football dreams. What the hell happened to us? Alex, I swallowed hard. My name. Alex, sounding foreign on his lips tonight, laced with a vulnerability I'd rarely heard. What happened? I wanted to scream. You grew into this unbreakable force of straight-laced charm, dating cheerleaders and baristas, while I learned to hide in plain sight, loving you from the shadows of every group hangout, every late-night text that never quite crossed the line. Instead, I forced a laugh, clinking my glass against his. Life. Jack. It kicks you in the teeth and calls it character building. Thunder rolled again, closer this time, and the lights flickered, plunging us into a momentary darkness that felt like fate's cruel tease. He shifted closer, the couch dipping under his weight, his knee pressing against mine in a way that sent heat spiraling through me. We talked for hours, or maybe it was minutes. The whiskey blurred the edges, revisiting ghosts of our youth. The way he defended me from those neighborhood bullies who'd sniffed out my weirdness before I even knew what to call it. The summers we'd spent biking through Prospect Park, sweat slicked and invincible, sharing secrets under the canopy of ancient oaks. You're the only one who gets me. Alex, he murmured at one point, head lolling back, eyes half-lidded. Always half. Everyone else, they just see the muscles in a mouth. But you see the mess underneath. My throat tightened, words failing as I studied the planes of his face, the faint scar above his eyebrow from a bar fight he'd never talk about, the way his lips curved even in repose, soft and inviting in a way that haunted my loneliest nights. I should have pulled away, changed the subject, but the rain pounded relentlessly, mirroring the flood inside me. "Jack," I whispered, voice cracking like the storm. "There's something I've never told you." His eyes snapped open, locking onto mine with an intensity that stole my breath. The air thickened, charged, the game forgotten on the screen as lightning etched white scars across the walls. He didn't move, didn't flinch, just held my gaze, his blue depths swirling with unspoken questions. "Then tell me," he said, low and steady, like he was daring the thunder itself. My hand trembled as I set the glass down, the confession bubbling up unbidden, raw and terrifying. "I've been in love with you since we were 16. Every laugh, every fight, every time you walked away with someone else, it was you, Jack. Always you." The words hung there, heavier than the downpour. And for a heartbeat, the world stopped. His face crumpled, not in revulsion, but in something achingly human. A flicker of recognition that pierced me deeper than any rejection could. "Alex." He sat up slowly, hand reaching out to grip my forearm, his calluses rough against my skin, grounding me in the reality of this moment we'd both pretended never existed. Shit. Man. I had no idea, but there was no anger in his voice. No pulling away, just a quiet unraveling, like a dam cracking under pressure. He ran a hand through his hair, exhaling sharply. "All those years, I felt it too. You know, this pull. Like you were the anchor in my chaos. But I buried it, told myself it was just bros being bros. Straight guy bullshit." The admission hit like lightning, scorching through my veins, leaving me breathless and alive in a way I'd never known. We were inches apart now, the heat of him radiating through the thin space between us, his breath mingling with mine, whiskey sweet and tentative. "What if it's not bullshit?" I murmured, heart thundering louder than the storm. His eyes searched mine, stormy and searching, and then, as if the universe itself conspired, he leaned in slow, deliberate, his lips brushing mine in a kiss that was equal parts question and surrender. It was soft at first, exploratory, tasting of rain and regret and the forbidden fruit we'd both denied ourselves for so long. My hands found his shoulders, broad and solid under the flannel, pulling him closer as the kiss deepened, tongues tentative then urgent, a dam breaking in earnest. He groaned low in his throat, a sound that vibrated through me, his fingers threading into my hair, tilting my head as if he'd mapped this territory in dreams he never admitted. The couch creaked beneath us, the world narrowing to the press of his body against mine, hard planes yielding to softer curves, the scrape of his stubble igniting sparks along my jaw. We broke apart gasping, foreheads pressed together, the rain a distant roar now, drowned by the pounding of our pulses. "This changes everything," he whispered, voice husky with wonder and fear, his thumb tracing my lower lip as if memorizing its shape. I nodded, tears pricking my eyes, not from sorrow, but from a sheer miracle of it. This bridge we'd finally crossed after years of parallel paths. "Yeah," I breathed, "but maybe that's the point. Maybe we've been waiting for this storm to force us together." He pulled me into his lap, then, strong arms wrapping around me like a lifeline, and we kissed again, slower this time, savoring the revelation. His hands roamed my back, slipping under my shirt to trace the curve of my spine, eliciting shivers that had nothing to do with the chill seeping through the windows. I arched into him, fingers fumbling with the buttons of his flannel, exposing the warm expanse of his chest, dusted with golden hair that tickled my palms. "God, Alex," he murmured against my neck, lips trailing fire. "I wanted this. Wanted you." Didn't know how to say it. The confession fueled us. Clothes shedding like old skins, his shirt tossed aside, my button-up following. Jeans kicked off in a tangle that made us laugh, breathless and giddy amid the intensity. Naked now, skin to skin, we explored with a reverence born of familiarity twisted into something new and profound. His touch was everywhere, gentle on my hips, possessive on my thighs, mapping me as I mapped him, lips and hands charting territories long imagined but never claimed. When he entered me, slow and careful, eyes locked on mine, it was more than physical. It was a merging of souls, the culmination of every stolen glance, every unspoken ache. We moved together in the dim light, the storm outside fading to a steady patter, our rhythms syncing like they always had, on bikes, in games, in life, now elevated to this intimate dance. Pleasure built in waves, cresting in gasps and whispers of names, until release crashed over us, leaving us tangled and spent, hearts racing in unison. He held me after, chin resting on my head, breaths evening out as the whiskey haze lifted, reality creeping in with the dawn's first gray light. But as the rain tapered off, doubt flickered in his eyes when he thought I wasn't looking, a shadow of the straight world he'd navigated so effortlessly, now cracked by this truth we'd unearthed. "What now?" he asked softly, fingers tracing lazy circles on my arm, voice laced with the weight of it all. I turned to face him, cupping his jaw, feeling the pulse beneath my thumb. Now we figure it out. Together. No more hiding. He searched my face, then nodded, a small smile breaking through, the same grin from our playground days, but richer now, tempered by honesty. We dressed in silence, the apartment bathed in that fragile morning hush, coffee brewing as we sat at my tiny kitchen table, knees brushing under the wood. Stories spilled out then, unfiltered, his failed engagements, the loneliness masked by bravado, my parade of dates that paled against the ghost of him. Laughter mingled with tears, forging a bond deeper than friendship, laced with the promise of more. Days blurred into weeks, Jackson extending his stay, work gigs forgotten as we navigated this uncharted territory. Walks through the park where we'd once raced, now hand in hand when no one watched. Stolen kisses in alleyways that tasted of possibility. But tension simmered, his phone buzzing with texts from old buddies. Oblivious to the shift, my mirror reflecting a man finally seen, yet terrified of losing him to the pull of normalcy. One night, over takeout Chinese in bed, he confessed the fear gnawing at him. What if I can't do this? What if I'm not? Enough. I pulled him close, heart aching with the universality of it, the human frailty that binds us all. You're everything, Jack. We're enough because we're real, and in that vulnerability, we found strength, the drama of our night evolving into a quiet romance, suspense yielding to certainty. Yet life, ever the dramatist, tested us. A call from his foreman yanked him back upstate for a crisis job, leaving me staring at an empty couch, the echo of his goodbye kiss lingering like smoke. Texts flew, flirty at first, then strained as distance amplified doubts. "Miss you," he'd write, followed by silences that stretched like chasms. I threw myself into designs. Sketches of him filling my pad, his profile against city lights. Hands calloused and kind. But fear whispered, had that night been a whiskey-fueled dream? Evaporating in daylight, 2 weeks in, he showed up again, unannounced as always. Duffel in hand, eyes red-rimmed from the drive. "I can't do this halfway," he said, voice breaking as he dropped to his knees before me, pulling me down into an embrace that smelled of highway and home. "I love you, Alex. Not as a friend. As my partner. My everything." Tears streamed as we clung, the storm of uncertainty passing, leaving clarity in its wake. From there, our lives wove together, him commuting when he could, me visiting sites where he'd point out beams he'd welded, pride swelling in my chest. We faced the world incrementally, a hand held at a dive bar, coming out to bewildered families who, in time, embraced the men we'd become. The drama faded into daily magic, mornings tangled in sheets, evenings cooking bad spaghetti while arguing over playlists, the romance deepening with every shared sunrise. Years later, standing on that same pier from our youth, rings glinting on our fingers under a starlit sky, I realized the true change, not just our bond, but us. We traded illusions for authenticity, suspense for serenity, proving love's quiet revolution. Jackson pulled me close, whispering, "One night started all, but every day keeps it going." And in his arms, I knew we'd conquered more than the world. We'd conquered ourselves. The salt air off the East River carried whispers of our past as Jackson and I leaned against the rusted railing. The city skyline a jagged silhouette against the twilight. It had been 6 months since that thunderous night, and yet every time his fingers intertwined with mine, a thrill shot through me like the first crack of lightning all over again. We moved in together, a cramped but cozy walk-up in Williamsburg, walls already adorned with my sketches of us, his tool belt slung over a chair like a badge of our merged worlds. But beneath the domestic bliss, echoes of doubt lingered, faint but insistent, testing the fragility of what we'd built. Work had been the first fracture. Jackson's foreman gig demanded long hauls upstate, 12-hour shifts welding steel under relentless sun, leaving him bone-tired and distant when he returned. I'd wait up, laptop glowing with half-finished logos, heart twisting as he'd collapse into bed with a grunted "love you" that felt more habit than heat. My own days blurred in freelance frenzy, pitching ad campaigns to suits who saw my edgy style as code for something they couldn't pin down. But the real drain was the secrecy. We weren't out. Not fully. A quick peck goodbye in a hallway. Hands springing apart at the buzz of neighbors. "It's safer this way," he'd say, eyes averted, and I'd nod, swallowing the bitterness, knowing his construction crew was a macho minefield of slurs and side-eyes. One evening, after a particularly grueling week, he stumbled in late, reeking of diesel and defeat, a fresh bruise blooming on his cheek from a site mishap. "Fucking rebar slipped," he muttered, shrugging off his jacket. But I saw the deeper weariness, the way his shoulders slumped, carrying weights unspoken. I drew him a bath, the steam curling like our shared secrets, and as I knelt by the tub, washing the grime from his back, he finally broke. "They were joking around today. Alex, about this queer kid on the next crew, laughing like it was nothing. But it hit too close. His voice cracked, water dripping from his lashes, and I pressed my forehead to his wet shoulder, feeling the tremor in him mirror my own buried fears. That night, we made love with a desperation born of defiance, slow, deliberate thrusts that spoke of claiming each other against the world's indifference. His hands gripped my hips like anchors, mouth hot on my collarbone, murmuring endearments that blurred English and the raw language of need. "You're mine," he growled, flipping me beneath him, our bodies slick and synchronized, building to a crescendo that left us shattered and whole. Afterward, curled against his chest, heartbeat sinking to the rhythm of rain pattering the fire escape, I whispered, "We tell them. Your crew. My clients. No more half-lives." He tensed, then sighed, fingers stroking my hair. "Yeah. For us, the coming out was a gauntlet, dramatic in its quiet upheavals. Jackson chose a Friday crew barbecue in a dusty lot upstate, burgers sizzling on grills while country rock blared from a truck stereo. I drove up that morning, nerves jangling like loose change, dressed in my usual slim chinos and a soft Henley that hugged my frame, contrasting his faded jeans and steel-toed boots. He stood with his back to the fire pit, beer in hand, voice steady as he announced, "Guys, this is Alex. My partner." The chatter died, faces shifting from confusion to calculation, a beat of silence stretching taut as a guy line. Then Big Mike, the bulliest welder with a beard like steel wool, clapped Jackson on the back. "About damn time you settled down. Boss. He's got that artist vibe, gonna soften you up good." Laughter rippled, tentative, then genuine. And just like that, the wall cracked, letting light in. My turn came softer, over video calls to potential clients, a pitch for a queer-owned coffee brand. Ironically, in this campaign, I said, screen-sharing mood boards splashed with tender embraces like ours. Celebrates love without labels. The lead creative paused, then smiled. "Bold. I like it." "And you?" I took a breath, glancing at Jackson's photo on my desk, him grinning mid-swing with a hammer. "It's personal. My partner and I. We're living it." Cheers erupted from her end, deals sealed in authenticity's wake. But romance wasn't all grand gestures. It thrived in the mundane, the suspense of everyday choices. We'd argue over grocery lists, him craving meatloaf, me pushing for veggie stir-fries, then make up with kisses that tasted of compromise. Lazy Sundays tangled in sheets, his head on my lap as I read aloud from dog-eared novels, his calloused fingers tracing patterns on my thigh. And the passion never waned. If anything, it intensified. Stolen moments in his truck on site, visits turning heated, windows fogging as I'd straddle him, grinding slow until we both unraveled, laughing at the risk. Yet shadows crept in with autumn's chill, a letter from his ex-fiancée, Sarah, postmarked from their old hometown. Words dripping concern. "Heard you with a guy now? You deserve real happiness. Jack. Call if you need to talk." He crumpled it, tossing it in the trash. But I saw the flinch, the old straight script replaying in his mind. That night, over camelot pasta, tension simmered unspoken until it boiled over. "Do you regret it?" I asked, fork clattering, voice small. He reached across, eyes fierce. Never. But it's hard. Alex, unlearning a lifetime of shoulds. I love you. But sometimes I wake up scared I'll fuck this up. Tears welled. But so did resolve. We talked till dawn, excavating fears like archaeologists, his internalized shame from a father's beer-fueled rants, my armor forged from schoolyard taunts. We're in this mess together, I said, and he nodded, pulling me onto the rug, making love there amid scattered cushions, tender and fierce, reaffirming our vow. Winter brought its own trials, a brutal nor'easter trapping us indoors. Power out, huddled under blankets with board games and body heat. Stories flowed, his childhood dreams of fatherhood clashing with our reality. My fantasies of a family pieced from chosen kin. Adoption. Maybe, he mused one night, tracing my knuckles. Or just us, building something unbreakable. The idea bloomed, romantic and radical, a future sketched in whispers. Spring thawed the ice, and with it, deeper commitments. We adopted a rescue mutt named Scout, a scruffy terrier with Jackson's boundless energy. My curious eyes. Walks became rituals, leash in one hand, the other linked, neighbors nodding hellos that felt like victories. Professionally, doors opened, my designs gracing billboards celebrating pride. His crew hiring openly gay apprentices, pride swelling in tandem. But the pinnacle came on our anniversary, the date of that stormy night when he blindfolded me, leading me to the pier. Remember, he asked, untying the cloth to reveal a picnic spread, whiskey mini bottles, our favorite takeout, a velvet box glinting in lantern light. Alex, you've been my constant. Marry me, kneeling there, rain from memory in the air. I said yes through sobs. Rings exchanged simple gold bands etched with lightning bolts. Our wedding was intimate, rooftop in Brooklyn, summer sun dipping low, friends and family toasting our journey. Vows exchanged raw. I promise to weather every storm with you, he said, voice thick, and I echoed, to love you in the light and the shadows. The kiss sealed it, cheers rising like thunder, our bond forever forged. In the years that followed, life unfolded with its kismet mix of joy and grit, kids via surrogacy, a house with a yard for Scout's successors, careers peaking in quiet fulfillment. The night that changed us became legend in our telling, a tale of courage over convention, proving love's true drama lies not in the fall, but in the fearless rise. Parenthood arrived like a whirlwind. 2 boys via our chosen path, little Theo with Jackson's blue eyes and my artist's fingers, and Miles, dark-haired and stubborn, a perfect storm of us both. The first night home, diapers and midnight feeds blurring into exhaustion. Jackson rocked Theo while I nursed a bottle to Miles, our eyes meeting over the dim nursery lamp, a shared smile cutting through the fatigue. We did this, he whispered, awe threading his voice, and in that moment, the humanistic weight of our love crystallized, not just romance, but legacy, a family woven from threads of resilience. But no fairy tale lacks thorns. Theo's colic hit hard, screams piercing the night like accusations, fraying our edges. Jackson, ever the fixer, paced with the baby, humming off-key lullabies from his football days, while I'd collapse into bed, guilt gnawing for resenting the chaos. One dawn, after a particularly brutal stretch, he found me in the kitchen, head in hands. Hey, he said softly, settling Theo in his bouncer, pulling me into his lap on the stool. We're a team, remember? That night taught us storms pass. His kiss was gentle, hands roaming familiar paths, reigniting embers amid the domestic rubble, reminding me passion was our glue. Work-life balance tipped precariously. My freelance boomed with a book cover series on queer histories, deadlines stacking like Jenga blocks, while Jackson's promotion to site supervisor meant earlier mornings. Grease-stained lunches wolfed in trucks. Date nights became relics, until we enforced them, hiring a sitter for stolen evenings at hole-in-the-wall jazz clubs, swaying to saxophones, his hand warm on my waist, whispers of "I see you" cutting deeper than any vow. Suspense crept back with Theo's preschool diagnosis, autism spectrum, the doctor's words landing like a gut punch. We sat in the sterile office, hands clasped under the table, Jackson's jaw set in that determined line I'd fallen for. "We'll fight for him," he said later, over coffee in a park, Miles toddling at our feet. Like we fought for us. Therapy sessions, IEPs, a village of specialists. We dove in, my sketches turning into visual aids for Theo's communication. Jackson building sensory swings in our backyard. The drama bonded us tighter, romance evolving into partnerships, profound poetry. Yet external pressures mounted. Jackson's family, conservative roots deep in upstate soil, struggled with our life. Holidays tense with veiled barbs from an uncle. His mother's hugs lingering too long. Eyes pleading for normalcy. One Thanksgiving, after a passive-aggressive toast to traditional values, Jackson stood, voice steady. "Mom, Dad, this is our tradition. Alex, the boys, me. It's love, plain and simple." Silence blanketed the table. Then his father nodded gruffly. "Proud of you, son," and the ice thawed. Inch by inch, humanity prevailing over habit. My side offered lighter winds, my sister, ever the ally, babysitting with flair, regaling the boys with tales of our thunder wedding. But loss struck too, my father's quiet passing from cancer. A man who'd never fully understood, but loved from afar. At the funeral, Jackson held me through eulogies, his presence a bulwark. Later that night, in the guest room of my childhood home, we mourned with bodies entwined, slow and sacred, his tears mingling with mine on the pillow. The boys grew, Theo's therapies yielding breakthroughs, a first sentence, "Love Daddy," scribbled in wobbly letters, handed to us on Father's Day, our hearts exploding in tandem. Miles, the firecracker, declared himself superhero gay after catching us kissing, prompting a family talk laced with laughter and Legos. We navigated schoolyard politics, playdates with wary parents, Jackson charming them with grill master charisma, while I volunteered at queer youth centers, sharing our story to light paths for others. Romance reignited in stolen pockets, anniversary getaways to that pier. Now, with a bench dedicated to friends turned forever, where we'd make love in a rented cabin nearby, bodies knowing each other like old maps. His touch still electrified, fingers teasing scars from boyhood scrapes, lips mapping freckles earned in fatherly fields. "You're my anchor," he'd breathe during climaxes that left us gasping, the world reduced to sweat-slicked skin and shared breaths. A crisis peaked when Jackson's crew faced layoffs, the economy's cruel churn threatening our stability. Bills piled, sleep evaded, Arguments flared, him snapping at my creative optimism, me retreating into sketches of what-ifs. The night it crested, rain lashing windows like our first. He stormed out, only to return soaked, dropping to his knees. I'm scared, Alex, of failing you. The boys. I pulled him up, kissing salt from his lips. We're unbreakable because we bend. We made amends on the floor, urgent and forgiving. Dawn finding us planning, his retraining for green energy builds. My side hustle launching a graphic novel of our tale. Triumph followed, his new job sustainable and steady. My book a quiet hit. Reviews praising its raw humanity. We celebrated with a road trip. Boys in tow. Crisscrossing America. Grand Canyon sunsets where Jackson proposed a vow renewal. To more storms. More us. Laughter echoed through redwoods. Ocean waves crashing like applause. As the boys hit double digits, reflections deepened. Theo's art therapy bloomed into murals of family portraits. Miles captaining the soccer team with Jackson's coach-like cheers from the sidelines. We'd host barbecues. Our home a haven for queer couples navigating similar seas. Stories swapped over beers, fostering a community born of our courage. One evening, porch swing creaking under us. Grandchildren a distant dream. Jackson turned to me, silver threading his hair like mine. That night, it wasn't just a change. It was rebirth. I leaned into him, heart full. And every day since, we've lived it true in the gathering dusk. Hands clasped, we embodied love's enduring drama. Naughty, noble, forever ours. The boys' teenage years ushered in a new act. Hormones and heartaches testing our family's fortitude like never before. Theo, now 13, channeled his spectrum into coding prodigiously. Apps for neurodiverse kids, earning him local buzz. But social storms brewed, crushes unspoken, bullies online sneering at his weird family. One night, he slammed into the kitchen. Laptop hurled, tears carving tracks down his freckled cheeks. They said we're freaks. Dad, 2 dads. No, Mom. Like we're broken. Jackson and I exchanged glances, the old ache resurfacing. But we flanked him, arms around shoulders. Son, I said, voice steady. Broken things tell the best stories. We're your proof. Love pieced us together. Stronger for the cracks. Jackson nodded, pulling out his phone to show crew photos. Diverse faces grinning. Worlds full of puzzles. Theo. Yours fits ours perfect. We talked till midnight. Vulnerability a bridge. Ending with ice cream and a promise. Family game night. No judgments. The next week, Theo's app won a Teen Innovator Award. His speech thanking my dads, who coded love first. Pride swelled. Romantic in its paternal poetry. Jackson's hand squeezing mine in the audience. Eyes misty. Miles, 15 and fiery, grappled differently his first boyfriend, a lanky artist named Kai, sparking joy then jealousy when school whispers turned to outright harassment. They're calling me names. Dad, he confessed one autumn afternoon, kicking leaves in the park. Jackson tossing a football nearby to ease the edge. Like it's wrong to be us. Jackson caught the ball, sauntering over, sweat beading on his brow from the toss. Listen, kid, being us is the win. I spent years hiding who I loved, almost lost everything. Don't you dare. That evening, We role-played comebacks, laughter lightening the load. Then Jackson and I retreated to our room, the tension translating to tangled sheets. His body a familiar fortress. Whispers of "we're raising warriors" punctuating our release. External gales howled too, a neighborhood petition against alternative families at the boys' school. Signatures from folks we'd waved to for years. Drama escalated at a PTA meeting. Voices raised in a cacophony of fear-mongering. Until Jackson stood, broad frame commanding silence. My husband and I have poured heart into this community. Our kids deserve the same openness we give. Sign your papers if you must, but know you're signing away decency. Applause trickled, then roared, the petition fizzling like wet fireworks. That night, Victory's sex was triumphant, me atop him, riding waves of affirmation. His groans a symphony of solidarity. Romance, ever adaptive, found fresh fire. With the boys more independent, we reclaimed weekends, hiking the Appalachians, bags packed, hands brushing trails, campfires crackling as we'd recount our origin storm, lips meeting under star-pricked skies. Or city escapes, Broadway shows where he'd squeeze my thigh during tender scenes. Hotel rooms alive with rediscovery, his mouth worshipping every inch. Slow builds to shattering peaks that left us boneless, bonded. But loss shadowed Joy, Jackson's mother, frail from years of quiet battles. Passed in spring, her bedside confession a balm I was wrong to doubt. You too. You're the real deal. We buried her beside his father, who'd softened in time. Eulogies laced with grace. Grief carved us hollow. Nights spent holding each other. Tears soaking pillows. But from ashes rose resolve, a foundation in her name for LGBTQ plus elders. My designs funding it. Jackson volunteering hours. The boys' milestones mark time's tender tyranny. Theo's high school graduation. Valedictorian speech weaving code and kinship. My dad's debugged out. Recompiled love. Miles, out and proud, led the school's first GSA. Dating Kai through breakups and makeups. Teaching us patience as art. Empty nest loomed, but we filled it proactively, traveling Europe. Hands linked through Rome's ruins. Paris cafes where Jackson, ever the romantic, proposed gelato-fueled dances and fountains. Suspense spiked when Theo's college acceptance came with a scholarship caveat, relocation to California. Kai following for art school. We're adults now, he said over dinner, eyes earnest. But you'll always be home. Heartache hit. Yet pride prevailed. Airport goodbyes tearful. Promises of visits sealing the send-off. Miles stayed local. Community college bridging to his dreams of social work. Evenings filled with his rants on justice. Us listening, loving. With nest half empty, Jackson and I dove into reinvention. He launched a contracting firm focused on inclusive builds, affordable housing for queer families, his charisma sealing deals. My branding giving it visual soul. Success surged. But so did scrutiny, a rival smear campaign. Online trolls dredging our lifestyle to undermine bids. Drama crested in a boardroom showdown. Jackson's testimony unflinching. Our love built this company. Same as any. Judge the work, not the wedding ring. Victory vindicated. Contracts flowed. Our home office a hub of hustle and hugs. Intimacy evolved. Seasoned and sacred. Mornings with coffee and caresses. His fingers knowing my curves like Braille. Evenings where I'd sketch him nude by lamplight. Poses turning playful, leading to lovemaking that spanned hours. Tender explorations yielding to fervent finishes. Aging with you is the adventure, he'd murmur post-climax. Gray streak head on my chest. A health scare jolted us. Jackson's routine check flagging prostate concerns. Biopsies looming like storm clouds. Waiting rooms blur days. My hand in is a constant. Fears voiced in whispers. If not, we've lived full. Benign results brought relief. Celebrated with a vow tattoo. Lightning bolts on wrists. Inked in tandem. The scare deepened gratitude. Romance redoubled in rooftop toasts. Bodies celebrating vitality. Grandparenthood arrived unexpectedly. Theo and Kai's wedding in a sun-dappled vineyard. Our first granddaughter. Lila, a bundle of curiosity with Theo's intensity. Holding her, Jackson teared up. Full circle. Alex. From that night to this, visits became rituals. Story times of Papa Jack and Daddy Alex's Thunder Kiss, fostering generations of openness. Reflections in our 60s brought profound peace, speeches at pride events. Our story a beacon, a memoir written, pages pulsing with drama's arc. One anniversary, back on the pier, windswept and wise. He pulled me close. Forever changed? Nah, we changed forever. Kissing him. Salt-tanged and timeless. I knew the truth, our bond. Born in storm. Bloomed eternal. A testament to love's unyielding humanism. Decades folded like well-worn pages. Our lives a tapestry rich with threads of trial and triumph. The boys now men with families of their own. Echoes of our journey rippling outward. Theo's tech startup revolutionized accessibility apps. Kai's galleries showcasing queer narratives. Their daughter Lila, our Spitfire granddaughter, interning with my firm's summers. Her sketches fierce and fluid. Miles, married to an activist lawyer named Jordan, ran a nonprofit bridging LGBTQ plus divides. They're twins. Our grandsons, tumbling through our yard like puppies, demanding thunder stories before bed. Jackson and I, silver-haired sentinels in our 70s, traded city bustle for a craftsman bungalow upstate. Ironic. His old stomping grounds now ours. Woods whispering welcomes. Retirement suited us. Mornings with birdsong and black coffee on the porch swing. His hand still calloused, though softer, laced in mine. Afternoons, tending a garden where tomatoes vied with my wildflowers. Romance simmered low but steady, baths drawn with Epsom for his aches. My fingers massaging knots, leading to languid lovemaking. Bodies slower but attuned. Climaxes quiet waves rather than tempests. Profound in their intimacy. Yet age brought unforeseen dramas. Jackson's hip replacement, a necessity after years of climbing scaffolds, confined him to a walker. Frustration etching lines deeper than time. Hate feeling useless, he'd grumble, tossing the damn thing aside, only for me to kneel, eyes level. You my rock. Hip or no? Let me carry you a while. Physical therapy became our dance, meet guiding steps in the living room. Laughter bubbling when he'd dip me dramatically, reclaiming agency. Recovery nights, pain eased by wine. We'd reminisce, his lips on my neck igniting familiar fires, proving desire defies decay. Health's shadow lengthened with my own brush, early dementia whispers. Names slipping like sand, Theo's worry etching his brow during visits. We'll fight it, Jackson vowed, fierce as our first night, enrolling us in trials. My journals of sketches a mnemonic anchor. Days blurred, but anchors held, his voice reading our memoir aloud, grounding me. Family gatherings where Lila's hugs pierced fogs. Suspense wove through appointments. But humanism prevailed, support groups where we'd share. Hands clasped, inspiring couples navigating similar seas. Grandkids' milestones marked joy's resurgence. Lila's wedding, a beach of fair, echoing hours. Her groom a coder with Theo's wit, our dance floor sway. Jackson's cane tapping rhythm, drawing cheers. The twins' bar mitzvah, Miles' Jewish roots blending our tapestry, speeches toasting love's code, tears flowing free. We beamed from front rows. Jackson's whisper in my ear, our storm birthed this legacy. External tempests tested resolve, national backslides. Rights rolled back in red states. News feeds a barrage of bigotry. Protest called, and though knees creaked, we marched, signs scrawled, love wins. Always, arms linked, chanting with the young. A rally scuffle left, Jackson winded. My arm his steadying force, but the fire in his eyes, undimmed. Home after, bandaging scrapes. We made love with defiant tenderness, bodies affirming what words assailed. Travel-tempered trials, a cross-country train. Windows framing America's vastness. Stories swapped with strangers who marveled at our six-decade union. Secret, Jackson quipped to a curious widow. Weather, every storm together. Stops in hallowed spots, Stonewall for pride roots. Our kiss amid rainbow throngs a quiet revolution. Creative pursuits flourished. I illustrated a children's series on diverse families. Jackson narrating audiobooks in his gravelly timbre. Proceeds to youth shelters. Book tours brought spotlights. Q&As delving our thunder night. Audiences leaning in. Hungry for hope. One panel. A teen asked, "How'd you know it was forever?" Jackson glanced at me, eyes twinkling. Felt like coming home. Still does. Losses accumulated, friends fading. Theo's diagnosis advancing his own fears, but gratitude anchored. Annual peer pilgrimages, now with canes and wheelchairs. Winds carrying ghosts of youth. We'd toast with thermos whiskey to changes that heal. Kisses lingered, salt and sweet. Romance's embers glowing eternal. In our 80s, frailty advanced, but spirit soared. A final family reunion, grandkids, kids toddling. Laughter a chorus, we sat enthroned, Jackson's head on my shoulder. Best plot twist, he murmured, voice frail but fond. As twilight fell, I held him closer, heart full. Our story, dramatic to denouement, whispered the ultimate truth, love, in all its gay, gritty glory, redeems.